Hello, and welcome back to Wonderland Asylum. We're back today with issue 49 of the Hachette Partworks release of Titanic, the ship, the legend. Okay, so what's in today's magazine? Well, Joseph Conrad, Reflections of the Sinking. Apparently, shortly after the disaster, he published a controversial view in a series of articles in the English Review. And there's a monument to him in Poland, of all places. Again, an illustration which appeared, and obviously Titanic, allegedly, hitting the iceberg, which is fact. And that is the cold, hard fact, is that Titanic was not unsinkable. strange iconography, but yep, interior design of Titanic. Again, that's from the James Cameron movie, of course. Painstaking accuracy in reproducing all parts of the liner as faithfully as possible. They got the lounge wrong, though, from what I've read and heard subsequently. They got the lounge slightly off. Italian Renaissance. Again, that's a Suite B53, apparently. One of the first class suites on B deck. And then we're on to the instructions. Quite a bit to do. Well, I say quite a bit to do. It's time consuming what we have to do, although there's not all that much to it. It's just fiddly. So, without further ado, let's have a look. So in today's box, we have some decking. Oh, it's not an envelope. It's just under a bit of tracing paper. We have the final section of decking for the boat deck, which is always exciting. And obviously these pieces of deck, they'll slot in around it somehow. We'll see how shortly. We have some brown envelopes. Horrible, horrible things. This one just has a couple of foam pads on it, which I'm not going to be using, and I'll talk about that later. Again, aesthetic choice. Shoot me. Again, tearing that envelope open to show there's nothing inside it. As I've mentioned before, I do that for my benefit as well as everyone else's, looking back to make sure I haven't lost anything. And again, we have these two plates. And we have a bundle of AP screws. Interesting. And then we have some tinfoil. We have some reflective stickering to go underneath the officers' quarters. And I believe it's the gymnasium. So, yeah, let's get the box out of the way. Without further ado, let's see what we're going to be doing. So the first thing is we need this piece, and we need the two pieces of decking. Again, they only go to about halfway along, so that bit goes there, and this bit goes here, just like that. Now, I did listen to the suggestions that were given to me. I did indeed. Because everyone, I think, got sick of me shouting and raving about how bad the decking was, and I've gone and bought some Gorilla Glue. So hopefully this will be slightly better. I'm told reliably you don't need to leave it sitting for long periods of time to get it to the point where it's actually useful, but I will give it a few moments and I'll be back just shortly. Okay, so the glue's been sitting for about 20 minutes now. So that should be plenty of time. Now the piece that we've got just now only goes as far back as this hole there. So there's no need to put any glue on behind that, because it won't do you any good and it'll probably make it harder to get to stick next time. So, yeah. Again, I'm hoping that everybody's advice about the Gorilla Glue is accurate, because it's such a pest when the deck starts to lift up. But, yeah, this is probably the kind of final sort of biggish sections of decking, because what we're on to now, other than likes of the poop deck and everything, because this is the last section of the boat deck. After that, yeah, you've got the promenade decks and everything down below, but they'll be long and thin, I would imagine. Again, be interesting to see what we're doing after this, because I know up until issue 52, in fact, I think up until issue 56 it might be, we're still working on the boat deck. But once the boat deck's finished, I've no idea what we're doing after that. If we're moving back onto the hull to try and give us a bit more stability, or if we're moving on to one of the lower decks to try and give us a bit of rigidity for where the grand staircase is, which I'm going to talk about again just shortly. But there we go, that's the first pieces in. Again, peel the backing paper off carefully, because there's no telling where these planks may decide they wish to split and not stay as one anymore. Again, as you saw with, I think it was up at the bridge section it happened, planks decided they did not want to stay together. I think that's because that issue had been sitting for a little while, right enough, but still not helpful overly. Again, having those davits and those stairs and everything there helps you tremendously to line everything up and give it a good squeeze down. Honest first impression is that, yeah, the Gorilla Glue is definitely stickier than the other one that I had, so we'll see how it works. I won't put my clamps on because, again, a bit of advice I was given was the clamps were probably doing more harm than good. So I will move on to the other side, and then while I'm giving this a little bit of time to dry, we can have our little discussion about the grand staircase. Because as I said, I was going to investigate and kind of look into what the best option was for the grand staircase. Now, there are a couple of places that do 3D printed versions, but they will require a lot of modification to get them to fit this particular model. So be aware of that if that's a route you wish to go down, is that it's going to require a fair bit of work to get it right and to get it to do what you want it to do, basically. Because it's designed for the trumpeter kits, and obviously they're slightly different to what we have, both in terms of scaling, in terms of fixing points. You know, there's a lot of, I don't know why I've just bothered to paint all the way down there after mentioning that I wasn't going to do that. Silly me, too busy talking, not busy paying attention. Which, funnily enough, is what a lot of my school reports said when I was younger. But yeah, the trumpeter version, you can basically get grand staircases to go all the way down to, I think it's D deck, the grand staircase terminated on. So you could basically buy a 3D printed version of the grand staircase that goes all the way down to D deck and fit it and decorate it all the way down. But again, there wouldn't be much point in doing that for this kit because, well, you wouldn't see it. So, a bit pointless. But there we go. Okie dokie. So that's that all on. Again, as I say, I did mess up and go slightly too far, but that's because I was busy talking to you fine people and not paying attention. My own fault completely. Backing paper off. Again, use the davits to line it all up, but making sure the screw holes are all screw holes and detail holes are all free. And again, there we go. Press it all down nicely into the glue. And hope, against hope, for the best. But I'm told that the Gorilla Glue should work far better. It certainly seems to. I'm not having anything you can see there lifting up, which is good. Now I'm going to need to wait for that to dry because I'm a bit of a donut. But yeah, my own fault. Wasn't paying attention. The next bit involves a little bit of super glue because we're going to be attaching this to the main deck that we were working on previously. So I'll let that dry a little bit so I'm not getting my hands covered. I'll get my super glue out, which, as I said before, is Glue It from the range. It's what I've found to be the best. It was recommended by the World of Wayne channel, and I've never used anything better than it. I had Gorilla Gel Glue to begin with, but I find this to be far more effective. Again, there was a little bit of lift in the middle there, but I think it's just more down to me not pushing down properly. So I'll go and get the other piece, and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so as a brief interlude, while the glue is starting to settle. The grand staircase. I had a mess about with the one they gave us. I've painted the back wall a different kind of shade of brown, just dry brushing, and I've painted the stairs. That's about all I can really do for the stock version. But it's going to have to do, because I'm not spending $100 on something you're not really going to see. So I might try and do something with the utmost layer here, because it looks dreadful. But again, that will look slightly better looking down through the hatch. You can see a bit more texture in the wood, and you can actually see the stairs being picked out. So that may have to do, but yeah. It is what it is. We'll see if any of the other modelling mods places fancy doing anything with it. And if they do, it'll need to be soon, because I'm fairly sure in the next couple of issues you actually screw this bit down to the boat deck. So at that point, there's not much you can really do without undoing a lot of work. So yeah, that's what my grand staircase looks like now. It's not perfect, but it's better, in my opinion. So anyone who wanted to see, there you go. Let's get on with it. So here we have the front and mid section of the boat deck. And what we're basically going to be doing now is attaching this final section, which will give us the completed boat deck in all its glory. So again, you can't really turn it upside down. So what I'm going to do is put it on its side like this, where you guys can see what I'm doing. And then this new section marries up there. And the screw holes should line up just like that. Perfect. Now the first thing it wants us to do is get a couple of the AP screws, sorry. Now it's given us a bag with a ton of them in it, but we only seem to be using 2. So I don't know, it doesn't say anything about keeping these for a later stage, but I will do anyway. Normally they give you them on a stage per stage basis. It tends to be D'Agostini that will give you a bag of 1,000,000 screws and tell you, yeah, keep these for future usage. And you're like, oh, thanks. Because as I say, I do have their Millennium Falcon, and it was terrible for that. They'd give you a bag with 100 screws in it. They say, yep, use 50 of them now and keep 20 for next time and 25 for the time after. And you're like, oh, really? So, yep. Again, this bit's going to be really tough for you to see. In fact, the rest of this issue really is going to be pretty tough for you to see, because of just where everything we're working on is. And again, the other screw hole is just there. I'll try and readjust my fingers. And you can just about see what I'm doing there. So that one's nicely in and tight. What I'm going to do is then tighten up this one on the other side. My goodness, this is massive. You're not going to be able to see in my camera the full length of it now. And the next thing is getting some super glue. And dabbing it on under here to put the reinforcing plates in. Now they're mainly being used until such times as we screw the deck housings down, because the deck housings will add a lot of stability up above, because they're going to be screwed in across the gaps. So we're not going to have a situation like the real Titanic, where it's going to split if you try and move it, hopefully. Because that was one of the things with Bismarck, was you never attached the deck sections together. They were always able to be separated so you could get in and do maintenance on wiring and whatever. That doesn't seem to be the case with Titanic. It seems to be a case that they're saying, nope, you're never going to need to come under here ever. So we'll see. I did notice that the forecastle deck gets screwed down to the hull. And that was my initial thought, was, well, what if you need to get underneath to fix anything? But they don't appear to be thinking you will. So yeah, your two screws go there. Your two reinforcement panels go there. And this is now what the boat deck looks like. Look at the length of that. I will show you again at the end of the video how long the boat deck is. But you're not really going to be able to see. I'm going to need to rethink camera positioning when it comes to the point that we're working on longer pieces of the ship. But that's all we need this piece for now. So if you give me a moment, I'll get over the deck housing and we will continue. So for the final part of this issue, we need this piece here. And again, I love how this bit looks. The windows and everything look magnificent. As I say, I drilled out a couple of the portholes on the doors so the light will come out. Looking really good. Now, again, I can turn this upside down. I don't much want to. So I'll be turning it on its side. You won't be able to see a great deal of what I'm doing, but you should be able to see enough to get the picture. Now, if I do turn it upside down, what they want me to do with these foam pads is stick them over these circuit boards with the lighting circuits on them. Now, I am, with the greatest of respect, not doing that. They can go away. And the reason I'm not doing it, again, I'm not telling you what to do with your model, but for my money, with my model, I want the lights to be brighter, just because it's me. So if you're happy, because what that'll do essentially is it mutes the light coming from these LEDs, and when I'm plugging them in, they don't look that bright to start with. So yeah, I'm not gonna go with their suggestion. However, what we do have are these foil strips. Now they are quite reflective, and what they're there to do is basically reflect the light and block any light bleed, which is nice. So I'm only going to show you what to do with one of them, or how I'm going to fit one of them, because it's going to be the same, and it's going to be a fairly painstaking process to try and line them up, because I'm told they're very sticky and they don't like being, well, basically they don't like being manipulated, much like people. But yeah, so part N is this one here, the one with no windows on it. So it's the one I'm going to do first, as the instructions suggest. Now, looking at it, it is going, if I turn the model so you can see, it's going, I'm going to put this wire up and over here. It's going on that wall there. Now you can see they have included cutouts for the screw hole and for, I think it's that LED strip there, and obviously for the mounting point for the funnel. So it has been quite well prepared, but still, From what I've seen from other people, it's still very, very difficult to fit it. So I'm going to try and do this one on camera. It's very, very sticky, just to let you know. So I'll try and do this one on camera for you if I can. And then the rest of them I will do myself off camera, so you can't hear me shouting and swearing at them. I remember when I used to have steady hands and I used to be able to paint Airfix models. Not anymore. Yeah, there we go. So, again, adjust it until you're happy with where it's sitting. I'm not happy with where that's sitting in the slightest, so I'm going to lift it up again if I can. Better tweezers. I think you're going to need really tweezers on each side. You're not getting enough grip to lift it back off. Oh, what a pain in the neck, eh? What an absolute pest, right. Okay, so tweezers. Right at the top on one side. Tweezers right at the top on the other side. You don't want it sticking out the bottom. Okay, I'm going to need to play with this, so I'll get it done and I'll come back once I've done all these pieces. So yeah, that was fiddly. Did not like a lot of the bits, didn't like going in. It's these screw posts, they're too close to the side, so you're trying to feed the silver sticker around the side at the same, but they're all in. They're all in. All in and done, and that is us for issue 49. So, that's us for issue 49. What's coming in issue 50? Bit anticlimactic, really. For issue 50 seems like a really, really kind of benchmark place, a sort of, you know, a landmark, but it's a 140 issue build, so. So yeah, we've got some boats, we've got LEDs, some wires, a couple of benches, and we have more davits. Yay. But yeah. From what I'm told, issue 50 and issue 52 are very, very similar. Issue 51 is something a bit completely removed. But yeah, thanks as always for watching. I will give you a wee peek at how the boat deck is looking just now, once we're done here. But yeah, thanks very much as always for watching. Do leave a like, drop me a comment, any feedback, complaints, criticisms, or any suggestions. And as always, do consider subscribing to the channel. It does help massively, and it will help you be notified of future content. But as always, guys, thank you very much for watching, and peace out. So, there we can see the boat deck in all its grandeur so far. absolutely fantastic. You can see that back there is the engine assembly that we did, and what we've done so far the hull. So there's a fair bit of disparity between the boat deck and the hull thus far, but it just gives you a kind of impression on how big this thing's going to be. That it's sitting on is a 4-foot reptile enclosure. So yeah, really, really exciting to see this thing progress. Yeah, issue 50 coming soon, guys.